Welcome to episode 40 of the Bass Shed Podcast. My name is Ryan Roberts. On the episode is bassist Derek Frank. Derek is a Los Angeles-based touring and session bass player. He's currently working with Shania Twain and Gwen Stefani. He's also got his second record out as a band leader, as a solo artist, however you want to qualify that. The record is titled 11 Years Later. We're going to talk about the record. We're going to talk about the tours that he does with both artists. We're going to talk about the rigs he uses with both artists. I'm going to talk about how he got the gigs. Actually, I'm always interested in that, how he got the gigs. I was specifically more interested in Gwen because I know the tour manager, who his name is Froggy. You'll hear me mention Froggy. That's who that is. It's the tour manager for Gwen Stefani. And there's some other friends of mine were on Derek's record, and it was great to check out Derek's record. When I spoke with him and recorded the podcast, I had not yet heard it. Since then, I went back and checked out the record, knowing that I had some, we have some mutual friends on the record. Man, you guys got to check this record out. This record is slamming. I have links to it at thebasshed.com/podcast/Derek Frank. You can check it out there. You can also just go straight to Spotify, look up Derek Frank. You can also go to derekfrank.com and check it out there. Just look up the record. The record's really, really hip. Everybody sounds great on it. Everybody sounds fantastic. It's highly, highly, highly recommend checking that out. So we're going to talk about the record. We're going to talk about the tours. We're going to just talk about some life things, what he's been up to since he has not currently been playing with those two artists who were major figures in music. And, I grew up listening to No Doubt, which is where I finally got to see them a few years ago, and Gwen's amazing. I never saw Shania live, but I was playing a lot of country music back in Phoenix, and so she was a big figure in that music when I was playing it. So there's both of those artists are kind of... They have a special place to me, and it was really cool to connect with Derek about both of them. This is the time of the intro where I shamelessly plug D. Lakin Basses. D. Lakin Basses, co-founder of Lakeland Basses, Dan Lakin, has started a new line of basses, D. Lakin Basses, a new company, I guess is a better way to put that. There is links all over thebasshed.com to go check them out, or go directly at dlakinbasses.com. Dan he's always up to something. He's always up to something. He's got a lot of plates spinning over there. So definitely shoot him an email if you're interested to learn more. Let him know that you're a friend of Ryan Roberts and the Bass Shed, and I'm sure he would be more than happy to connect with you. I've connected him with some other friends, and everybody has always been pleased with how Dan Lakin takes care of them and what their specific concerns about building a bass are. So check him out, D. Lakin Basses. All right, getting back to my talk with Derek. I've known of Derek since I've been in Los Angeles, and I want to say we finally connected at NAMM last year. That's what I think. And we had been kind of loosely messaging about getting together and chatting. Having a chat on the podcast, and it finally worked out, and I'm really thankful that it did. It was great to connect with him. Lovely time. And here's my talk with bassist Derek Frank. Cool, man. How are you? It's recording. How you been keeping busy?
Well,
your mandatory vacation.
yeah. Same as anybody else. Some remote sessions, promoting my record. Just, I did a record this summer.
Okay.
So doing whatever I can to kind of get the word out of that. Just finally had a gig the other day, which was cool.
Nice.
I was playing Gwen Stefani's band, and we hadn't done anything since February. And, we just the other day did a taping where we did 4 TV shows and a virtual corporate show.
Okay.
So we did it all in the same place in one day. It's pretty cool. We did the Tonight Show, Today Show, and Ellen, and a UK show.
So just all pre-records?
It's all pre-recorded. Yeah, it's kind of
Okay.
the way these things go these days. Like no one's really
Right.
shooting, on the set, so it's like these things are just done pre-recorded and then they air it on the show.
Yeah, I saw Alanis on I think Kimmel the other
Oh,
night.
cool.
And I
Oh,
know I'm
cool.
sure you know some of those guys in that band too.
Yeah, I didn't know she did it though. That's cool.
Yeah, and it was all pre-recorded and like,
Hmm.
quick cut to like Mike Farrell and Julian Coriel.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
Cool.
It was funny.
Right on.
So just talk about the record, man. What record is this for you?
Yeah, so this is my second record. I
Okay.
did it pretty much right after everything shut down in March. I was in Vegas doing the Shania Twain residency and um, came home. We got shut down, obviously. Came
Sure.
home and just immediately started writing. I was like, you know what? I don't know how long I'm going to be home without gigs, so might as well just
Right.
start writing tunes because I thought about doing a follow-up record for a while. Like my last record came out in 2009, so it's been a
Okay.
while. And I just was busy with other stuff, and just the idea of doing my own project was put on the back burner. So I figured that was a good time. So I just started writing tunes, and then as things dragged on, and it was still kind of open-ended as to when we'd get back to work, I just figured, okay, well, let's set some goals. Let's
Yeah, be
try to have
proactive.
this many, yeah, like try to have this many songs done by this date. And I started kind of like putting putting the plan into action. Called Jim Scott to produce and book the studio, and called the guys to play on it, and it just kind of all started coming together.
Cool. What's the
Yeah.
what's the instrumentation? Did you take it like one band, like I'm using these guys on all of it, or is it kind of each tune has a different personnel?
It's pretty much the same band with a few guests.
Okay.
So the core band is it's a 4-piece band. We've got Ty Bailey on keys,
Yeah.
Joshua Ray Gooch on guitar, and Randy Cook on drums.
Oh man.
And so that's the core band. And my goal was to actually go into a studio, play it together in a room. Not really I didn't want to do the remote tracking thing where we pass tracks along. I mean,
Right.
that's the easy and economical way to do it. But I wanted to do it old school. I was itching to play with other musicians. We all were.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, well, this is a way for us to do something together and make some music. So we all got COVID tested. We had a few rehearsals at my place. We wore masks. Went into the studio, same thing. Wore masks, and so everybody was comfortable, and we just tracked as a band.
Cool.
And then we added a few things on top of it. Like I had a horn section do a few songs, and
Okay.
they're Vegas based. So I took the roughs of our basic tracks out to Vegas to a studio there, booked some studio time, got the horn section in to do their thing. Had a couple guests track remotely. Joe Bonamassa played a guitar solo.
Okay.
He was in New York at the time, so he just overdubbed his solo there. A buddy of mine, Jason Mowry, played some dobro. He's in Nashville. And then a buddy of mine in Vegas, Carlos Lopez, he played some percussion. So a couple people tracked remotely, but the core band was just playing together live.
Cool.
Yeah, it was fun.
What's the vibe of the record? How would you describe it?
I describe it as eclectic instrumental groove music with 70s undertones.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
kind of the long title. It's instrumental. It's got a bunch of different styles going on. It's got funk. It's got jazz, blues, rock, southern rock. It can get a little jam bandy if you want to say that. So it's kind of eclectic like that.
Yeah.
And then it's all kind of like, because we did it together, we did it old school, we did it with vintage gear, we did it through an analog console, kind of has the overall 70s vibe to it.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's basically what it is. It's not fusion, it's not smooth jazz, it's not like a bass wank fest.
Right.
It's just kind of like a groove album.
Okay. What's
Yeah.
as far as bass player band leaders go when creating records, who were some of your inspirations?
Well, as far as bass player band leaders go, Marcus Miller is always a big inspiration.
Okay.
And not in really my playing style on this album because I didn't do any slapping on the album.
Mm-hmm.
But like I've always been a fan of. I mean, I'm a fan of everything Marcus does.
Yeah.
And it's so musical, and it's not his records and his bands and his gigs. Like it's not about a bass chops fest
Right.
kind of thing. It's so very musical, and he seems to grow with every record he does. He's like got new stuff in his bags of tricks, and he's amazing. So he's definitely an inspiration. I don't know if I was totally influenced by bass player band leaders as I was just music in general. Like I'd say a lot of the influence came from John Scofield and some of the groove records he did like in the mid 2000s, like the Medeski, Martin and Wood stuff, the album Bump, the John Scofield band stuff, like the Uber Jam stuff. That was a big influence. And definitely, some Tower of Power stuff,
Mm-hmm.
the horn section, the Meters were a big
Okay.
influence. And then I kind of drew from some stuff like Government Mule, some kind of more rock, like riff rock jam kind of stuff. Black Crowes having a little bit of that like Southern rock kind of thing. Yeah, so the influences were kind of all over the place.
Okay. Okay. How
Yeah.
how are you going about distribution? Like, I mean, you
Well,
put it on platforms and stuff, but I guess marketing and distribution, just letting people know it exists.
it's a hard thing, man. Like when I first was planning the release and all that, I hit up a bunch of PR firms because I was like, you know what, it'd be best if I could, get someone to help me with this.
Sure.
Um, but I couldn't get anybody interested. I think just because I'm an independent artist that doesn't have like a big track record as an artist yet. I mean,
Right.
I've played with some people as a sideman, but that doesn't really count towards your thing as an artist. I couldn't really get any PR people interested. So after sending out a ton of emails and not really getting much response, I just kind of figured, well, I got to do this myself. So I just did a little research. Obviously, like I found a digital distributor that puts it out on Spotify and iTunes and Amazon and all that stuff. So I went with DistroKid to do all the distribution. And then I got vinyl,
Nice.
did that. I made little USB drives that I stick to these custom 8-track tapes, kind of a fun little
Oh,
thing
that's
that
dope.
I do. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I set up an online store to sell my physical product,
Okay.
and that's a company called Hello Merch. But everything I'm just doing myself, and I'm just figuring it out as I go along. Like I hired some video guys to do some video content, so I can just just kind of put some stuff out every now and then, just to keep some momentum going, keep it in people's ears and minds. And I'm just trying to figure it out as I go.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's hard to do without actually having gigs because
Right.
when we can do gigs, we can invite people to the gigs, we can sell the merch at the gigs, we can talk about the record, we play the music from the record, blah blah blah.
Sure.
But without having any opportunities to do gigs, we just got to figure out something else. So I'm just doing whatever I can via social media.
Okay. Okay. How's it been going? Has it been all right? I mean, given the nature of
Yeah.
what the music business is and is not right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going okay. Obviously people don't really buy music like they used to,
Yeah.
so it's hard to really sell. I mean, I've made some sales via the website with the physical product. I just need to keep putting it out there and hope that more people get into it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to kind of reach out to more people on Instagram, kind of beef up the followers so that when I release more content, video content and things like that, I have kind of a new audience rather than just like my friends and the
Sure.
current fan base and all that,
Right. Right.
Yeah.
What's Vegas been like? I mean, have you obviously everything's shut down. The gigs are just on pause, open-endedly,
Yeah.
right? Like,
I mean, the last I heard from our production manager was that it's likely that we'll resume in the summer.
okay.
Because we have I've been doing two different Vegas residencies, Gwen Stefani and Shania Twain. We were kind of at the tail end of the Gwen Stefani residency. We had one more run in May, and then that was going to be it for her.
Okay.
And then Shania had just started last December, so we had just started our second run with Shania when we got shut down. So I'm assuming and hoping that the last Gwen run will get rescheduled at some point, and then the Shania run's going to go for a while because we were going to go till the end of 2021. Now with basically probably over a year of no shows, I assume we'll probably go till the end of 2022.
Right.
And that's just my assumption at this point. But yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, each run is kind of laid out for us. Like we had our schedule booked till the end of 2021. So I kind of saw all the dates, and each chunk is like a 3-week chunk.
Yeah.
Like we go out for 3 weeks, come home, and then go back, I don't know, month or two later. So our next scheduled run is March, but I highly doubt that's going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think so, man. I don't like. I don't think.
I think it's yeah.
I think summer
we had
sounds right.
I mean, we're supposed to be there now. We were supposed to be there kind of mid-December, and then we're going to have a break for Christmas, and then we were supposed to do New Year's there, but obviously that's not happening.
Sure.
So now the next possibility would be March, but I just think it's too soon. Like we're not at a place yet where we can have 3,000 or 4,000 people in the same room.
Right.
It's just we're not there yet.
Yeah. Man, I saw no doubt at It was a big festival down in San Diego. I was playing Nobu, something like that,
Cool.
and No Doubt was headlining, and I was playing like one of the backstages with this band I was touring with at the time, and
Cool.
she's got so much energy. Watching, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, it was so impressive. That
Yeah.
man,
She is
that's a
she is
tough.
a total badass in every way.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Like, I mean, obviously, I grew up with that music, and it was great to connect with the band and see them live. But
Mhm.
watching her live was insane.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
man,
It's still like for me when I play with her, it's like I'm getting my own show just watching
yeah,
her.
right.
It is really cool. It's super entertaining to just be a part of it, and just be kind of be a part of the show, but still be a witness to what
Right, you're
she's
still
doing. And
spectator.
got her in my ears, and she's great. I mean, she sounds so good all the time. I've never heard her sound bad. She's completely just the real deal, and just the way she deals with the crowds and interacts with people, it's different all the time. Like nothing is scripted with her. She's just very natural and very confident,
That's awesome.
and it's great. And she's hilarious at times and jokes around with people and says a lot of off-color stuff on stage, and it's just kind of like it's super entertaining for us. So every show I do with her is like me attending a show as well.
That's cool.
It's cool.
That's cool. How long?
It's fun.
How long you been working with her?
I've been in her band for about 2.5 years now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. How did that how'd that come about?
Um, it's interesting. I was on tour with another artist, April 2018. I was in China with an artist named Daniel Powder, and my phone rang at like 8:30 in the morning, woke me up, and it was her MD, Will Hollis, and he was just like, "Hey man,
Okay.
Gwen's doing her Vegas residency. We're starting rehearsals in 3 weeks. Are you down to do it?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna say no to that." And at the time,
Right.
I was potentially going to be joining another tour that year that I hadn't gotten confirmation of, and I was waiting on it. I'm like, "Yeah, let's do it." Like this other thing, I don't know if it's going to happen or not. I love Gwen. And it was just like by the end of the day, I had paperwork done, and we were good. Like he was like,
Oh,
"Cool, I'll have to
great.
put you in touch with management." So like, yeah, I mean, they emailed paperwork, and I was done that day. So I finished that tour. I immediately went to work learning the songs. I mean, I was on planes, like sitting there charting stuff out. I was in dressing rooms, after sound check, charting out Gwen tunes,
Right.
learning the whole set while I was on tour with this other artist. And then I got home on a Friday night, and Saturday morning I was in rehearsal. Like I'd missed a few rehearsals,
Wow.
like they had started before I got back, but he was like, "Yeah, it's okay if you miss the first few rehearsals." Like he's
Okay.
like, "I know you do your homework." And
Sure.
yeah, so it was cool. It was it was cool that it was kind of like that easy. The call just came and was like, "You want to do this? Cool." And Will is an MD that I've worked with before. I did Dancing with the Stars tours with him back in 2007 and 2009. He put together Shania Twain's band when I joined, so
Okay.
he had gotten me in on that. And then he had actually called me to audition for Gwen a few years back, and I auditioned, and I didn't end up getting the gig, but I guess they just kind of had me as the runner up or whatever, so that when
Hmm.
when the bass player she did choose, when he had to leave to do something else, I was just kind of, I guess, next in line, so they just called me for that.
Okay. Was that
Yeah.
Corbin?
It was Brian Jones.
Brian Jones. Okay.
Yeah, so
Different
he
guy.
joined in 2016, and then he left to join Vampire Weekend. So he's been doing Vampire Weekend since 2018, and when he stepped
Okay.
out, that's when I stepped in.
Okay. I think it was probably like maybe I don't even know. Maybe 4 years ago that I met Froggy,
Oh,
and
okay.
then
Oh, cool. Oh, cool.
Froggy was telling me a bunch of stuff about it. He has this great story about. I'm sure you were there about like dancers coming in and like Gwen firing the whole.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a
Do you want to tell that story?
that was a
Like
ten-
I
that was
could
a
tell
tense
it.
moment. Well,
I'm sure it was tense, but like I love how Froggy said Gwen handled it. I
yeah.
love how she
And
handled it.
that's the only time I've ever seen Gwen yell at anybody or be pissed in any way. And
Yeah.
we have two guys in the band from No Doubt, and they
Okay.
and they said that like that's extremely rare. Same thing with them. They
Oh
were
really?
like, "Man, I haven't seen Gwen yell at anybody in 10 years." Like
Yeah.
so. Yeah, it was. We were in production rehearsals. We were at Universal. And we'd already rehearsed the band, and Gwen's so laid back about the band. It's like we did rehearsals with her, and it was just like piece of cake. So the band, like
Yeah.
after a few rehearsals, the band was pretty much ready to go. And then we went into production rehearsals, which of course involve the dancers, the choreography, the set, the video, blah blah blah, all that stuff. So a lot of the times in production rehearsals, the band was just kind of hanging out while the dancers were doing their thing. They're doing choreography and they didn't need us. So we're just hanging, shooting the shit, whatever. Um, and like somehow like the dancers disappeared for a bit and they came back out and they were on the stage. And then Gwen came out of her dressing room and she was like yelling at him and like, this is bullshit and blah, blah, blah. And we didn't know what was happening. But apparently like somebody in the dancer team was kind of like staging some kind of mutiny. They weren't happy with like the pay they were
Right.
getting or something like that. And of course it's like one person that like gets the whole team like, yeah, you're right. Like blah, blah, blah. So apparently like I don't know, they were kind of had some little mutiny thing going on and management and Gwen were not happy about it. And they were just kind of like, look, this is what it is. You can leave. There's the door,
Yeah.
Yeah. And they, whatever the dance team was planning, it did not work out for them. And
Right.
the next morning we walked in. I don't know all the details of it. It was just one of those moments where we're just like, whoa. And the next morning we walked into rehearsal and they were doing dancer auditions. So
yeah. That the story I heard from Froggy is like I think that the dancers were complaining about the hours, how long the rehearsal was going.
And I mean, it was open-ended, and it's like, I've done a bunch of tours where we've had production rehearsals, and it's like rehearsals are just kind of open-ended, and as musicians we're just good to go with the flow. It's like, I'm booked, I have a day rate, I've agreed to the day rate. At that point I'm there as long as they need me to be there. Now with the dancers, they go through agents. There may be more unionized there may be like union regulations and things like that. So maybe they felt like they were putting in too many hours or more than they agreed upon. I have no idea. I just, it's like when I'm there for these kind of rehearsals, I'm stoked to be there. I'm there for as long as they need me to be there. I realize that when I'm at these production rehearsals for these artists, I'm not there for me. I'm not there for me to rehearse.
Sure.
I'm there for the artist. I'm there to do whatever the artist needs me to do to feel comfortable. So if I'm putting in 12, 13-hour days, not a big deal. I've agreed to a day rate. And I'm, like I said, I'm happy to be there, happy to be a part of something like that,
Yeah, and it's not 13 hours of digging ditches. You're hanging out. The worst thing you have to do is play the bass.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the most work you have to do.
Work is not really work when you're doing that,
Sure.
And when you're in those production rehearsals, like I said, it's not really about the band. Usually the band is good to go after the band rehearsals. And it's like most of the time we're just sitting there. Like the band is like back behind the stage just joking around and whatever and just having fun, and we're just hanging until they say, okay, band, we're ready for you.
Right.
So it's it's totally cool. I don't mind being there.
Right. Exactly. What was your first major tour?
I'd say my first pop tour was 2006. An act named Ali and AJ. They were They're still at it, actually. They're releasing new music, and they were touring before COVID, and but they were Disney act. They're two sisters, and they were on Hollywood Records. And that was my first pop tour where we were doing theaters and arena level stuff and some TV and whatnot. Prior to that, I had done a lot of touring with a guy named Brian Auger. He's a Hammond B3 organizer. Yeah. So we did a lot of stuff all over the world, a lot of Europe and Japan and Australia, New Zealand and stuff, States as well. But that was like we were playing jazz clubs, a lot of festivals, very much a playing gig.
Yeah. So did those all kind of like parlay into one another? Did that kind of snowball you within the touring world?
Sort of. I mean, at first they were all kind of disconnected in that there were different personnel on each gig, and they were different MDs. Different styles. So like I went from Brian Auger, which was kind of like, acid jazz fusion kind of thing, into Ali and AJ. That came through a recommendation from I think the bass player that was with him at the time. You probably know Joe Ayub.
Oh yeah.
He was doing
he's been on the podcast. Yeah.
Oh cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Joe threw my name in the hat because he was leaving. And then there was another guy who was kind of like a supervisor. He was a guy that had, I think, a publishing deal with Hollywood Records or something, and he was kind of a consultant. I knew him. I'd done local gigs with him in a band. He kind of verified me. Yeah, said, this guy's cool. He vouched for me. And then from that, let's see, the next pop tour I did after Ali and AJ. Well, from that, I went on to went back to Brian for a bit. Then I joined and then Dancing with the Stars tour.
Okay.
After that, because that was 2007, which was a great tour. That was a great situation. That was a recommendation from a keyboard player named Michael Bluestein, who you may know as well. He plays.
I know the name. Yeah.
He plays in Foreigner now. He's been doing that for a long time. He threw my name in the hat for that. But an interesting thing there was like it was unconnected, like no MDs in common or players in common there, but the MD, his daughter was a big Ally and AJ fan, so he had like seen me on some TV stuff or something. And at the time, there was a honeycomb box that had our picture on the back, because it was like a music video we did, and he was like, "Hey, are you on that honeycomb box? Because we have that at home. Like we had to get that. My girl wanted, yeah." So it was one of those things where it's like, there was that sort of connection where he at least knew who I was or where I, what act I was coming from.
Right.
But yeah, I'd say they were all the gigs I've done have been a little bit disconnected in that they've all been different camps, except for Dancing with the Stars, Shania Twain, and Gwen Stefani. Those were all the same MD.
Okay.
But then some of the other things I've done in between were kind of disconnected,
But that kind of works out really well because scheduling is already taken care of then. Like, you don't have to worry about the tours overlapping at all if it's the same MD, right? It's kind of just like
they were they were kind of different times. Like I was 2018 I kind of got free from the Shania thing. She did a big tour in 2018, but she didn't take me. She didn't need a bass player. It was like a smaller band and more tracks and stuff. So I didn't end up doing that tour. So I was available then, and I think because he knew that, he was like, "Oh, well, we can, we can put you on Gwen's Vegas residency."
Right.
But then when Shania announced her Vegas residency, that was great because the two gigs would not overlap because they're both Vegas in the same theater. So if they just rotate, that kind of worked out well. Yeah.
So then how long would you be in Vegas at a time? Like, are you just kind of always there a little bit?
No,
like just doing one and then the other?
Well, there's been a couple where they've been back to back, and that's when I'm there for a long stretch. Like, but so far it's like each run's about 3 weeks. The longest I've been there so far was 2 months, because I had a Gwen run, which went right into Shania rehearsals, which went right into a Shania show run, because we did our rehearsals in Vegas as well. Shania lives in Vegas, or she has a place in Vegas. Okay. So we did our rehearsals there. So that was like a 2-month run, just because we had a big chunk of rehearsals as well. Like we had band rehearsals, then production rehearsals, then the shows.
Okay.
So yeah, that was like a 2-month run. That's the longest stint I've ever had in Vegas, and that's a lot. That's a lot of Vegas right there. A lot of
I can imagine.
As you know, Vegas is a lot in general, but like and when I do these runs, these 3-week runs, at the end of the 3 weeks, I'm just burnt. I've like that's enough. I'm ready to go home. Right. My wife always jokes around because like as ritual now, as soon as we get in the car and we leave the hotel and we're driving back to LA, like I put on Sheryl Crow Leaving Las Vegas. And it's just like my thing, because I'm so happy to be escaping Vegas, Yeah.
You're married. Do you have any kids?
No kids, just dog and 2 cats.
Yeah. Dog and 2 cats. Nice.
Yeah. But my wife comes out to Vegas quite a bit when we play. Like either she'll come out there, or on days off I'll come out here.
Cool.
Usually
it's nice that it's close enough.
Oh, it's a piece of cake. Yeah, it's a great gig, because it's like you're in the same place all the time. You can kind of like set up your room how you like it.
Right.
Just keep a bin of hotel room stuff out there in storage. So we go out there, I get my bin with like my my blankets and my like little oil diffuser and all the things I need for my room. Just keep it out there, and it's cool. It's convenient.
Yeah, that's a pretty sweet deal. Is Shania doing anything new, or is it all this stuff from like the early to mid 90s?
She did a new album in 2016, and we did a whole promo tour of that in 2017. She's got a couple of those songs in the Vegas show, but it's primarily hits. I mean, I think all the artists that do Vegas residency shows now, it's their greatest hits shows. Sure. Because they're all artists that have been around for a while and have had a lot of hits. So we do all the hits. I know she's working on new music now. I haven't heard any of it yet. I mean, I think everybody's working on new music this year, because that's the thing to do. There's it's no live shows.
Right,
so.
We got the time. It's just so funny to like everybody's gonna have a record, and it's gonna be interesting to see what it looks like for all these records and all these artists touring
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, everybody's just chomping at the bit to just get out and play live and play
Oh, I
their
know.
stuff live. You know, I
Yeah.
mean, Gwen's got new stuff. Like she just dropped a new single and she said she's got more stuff in the pipeline. So I think
Okay.
she's going to be releasing more stuff. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think 2021, we're going to see a lot of new releases and then hopefully some touring in support of all that for
Sweet.
everybody.
Now, will Gwen, uh, will she only do the residency thing, or will she actually tour? And actually, get outside of the states or do some stuff on the East
She
Coast.
she does a lot of stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
even the past couple of years since I've been in her band, it hasn't all been Vegas. Like
Okay.
we play all over the world, man. We do festivals and like we've done stuff in Dubai and Hong Kong and where we go, Monte Carlo, Singapore. We went to Mexico. We were supposed to do the Lollapaloozas in South America in April, and we had we had a whole Europe run in July that was supposed to happen. So she plays a ton internationally. Like she does a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So I would assume that we will have some touring. You know.
Okay. Cool. But
Yeah.
she's also doing
Yeah.
the TV show, right?
Yeah. She's a busy girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man.
She does the voice. I don't know if the voice just ended. Or it's about to end. I'm not sure.
Like
I don't
end
really
to
watch it.
end? Like
No. I mean for the season.
oh, just the yeah. Okay.
I've been seeing her post, but I don't know if somebody won or what. I'm pretty bad about that. I've
Yeah, I
got
don't follow.
I'm friends with all the guys in the band, as I'm sure you are as well.
Right.
But I never watch it. I don't know. I'm bad with TV.
Yeah, I'm bad at that stuff. Like that kind of. I just want to watch movies, like movies or
Yeah.
like some true crime documentary, like that.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
I don't watch the game shows.
Yeah, I don't really watch anything on network
Yeah.
TV.
Right. What are you into?
Yeah.
What do you watch?
Well, I always just kind of default to like Seinfeld and The Office and Family Guy.
Nice.
If I just want to have something on. But like, I've been getting into a lot of shows that everybody else has this year. Like Mandalorian is amazing. We just watched the Heaven's Gate series on HBO, which was
I
crazy.
didn't see that one.
Just started watching The Vow, which is another cult docu-series.
Did you see the one on Scientology? The Leah Remini?
going- Oh, I saw the first one she did. I think she has a new one that came out like within the last year that I have to watch. I saw the first one. The wasn't Going Clear. Going Clear was a documentary, but she had a series too, and I watched that one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
it's wild.
nuts. And it's kind of weird to
It's
be.
wild shit.
I mean, I don't know for anybody else that's seen it, but like be in LA and you know where all these buildings are and you know like the massive
Yeah.
presence that Scientology has in
Yeah.
Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And then you see this like
Totally.
behind the curtain, behind the scenes of it all. And it's like, man, that's dark. That's dark. Yeah.
It's wild, man.
Yeah.
It's wild. Yeah.
What's the name of the new record?
So it's called 11 Years Later, and that's it's appropriate because the first album came out in 2009, and now it's 2020. So it took me 11 years to do a record. It took me 11 years to decide to do a record, and then like a couple of months to actually put it together.
What's the scene to like get on someone else's act to open for them? Like if to get on a tour as for yourself as an artist.
That's a good question because I would like to do that, and I would love to figure that out. And hopefully, like in January, I can start kind of looking into that and figure out like if I can figure something like that out for the summer and fall. I want to start figuring out some playing opportunities. Like I want to play in town and do like baked potato and stuff like that.
Sure.
But I'd love to get outside of LA as well.
Yeah.
Because like you can only like do so many gigs in town and have your friends come out and watch it. But like
Right.
ultimately, like yeah, you got to get out and play in front of some people that have never heard you before.
Right.
And convert them, so to speak.
Yeah. Who would those artists be that you would like to be on the same bill as?
I mean, I think I'm kind of looking towards the jam band scene.
Okay.
And like my music, I wouldn't say it's jam band, but it's eclectic and it grooves. And that's just kind of what those people are into,
Sure.
I mean, I think the people that are the jam band supporters are just into good music that feels good.
Yeah.
Like I've been subscribing to Relics magazine lately, which is like a jam band magazine, and the music
wow.
they report on is like everything. It's eclectic. It's just live music. It's kind of like just live music that's not mainstream pop, And
Right.
I think
Right.
that's kind of where I fit in. So I want to start looking into festivals and clubs and things like that have a lot of things in that scene, because my stuff doesn't fit in with the real jazz scene. It doesn't fit in with the smooth jazz world. It doesn't really
Sure.
fit in with the blues thing. So I think people that are fans of bands like Tedeschi Trucks Band and
Mm.
Government Mule, maybe Krangbin, maybe I don't know, what are some of the other like sort of more jam bands that are out there now, like Humphreys McGee and bands like that, Grey Boy All Stars, New Master Sounds, things like that. I feel like those are bands that I could be on a bill with.
When I think of jam bands, like geographically, I think of the Bay Area. Is that still like a
I
hotbed for
think, yeah,
that?
I think definitely NorCal and mountain towns,
Yeah.
man. The mountain towns love the jam
Mm.
band stuff, like Colorado. Like
Yeah.
when I was playing with Brian Auger, like we did a lot of stuff in that world, and we did tons of stuff in like ski towns, like just
Okay.
mountain towns, Colorado, Utah, Montana, um, things like that. So that's where I'm going to be looking, and I'm actually living part time in Park City, Utah, right now. We
Okay.
bought a place there this year, and we've been kind of going back and forth between there and LA, and they're very supportive of the arts. And there's, when it's not a pandemic, there's a lot of outdoor concerts. There's
Okay.
venues there, so I want to look into starting to do some shows there, and then do some regional stuff. Like, it doesn't take long to get to Colorado, get to places like Aspen and Vail and Telluride, and some of
Sure.
those towns. So I want to start looking into that. Like, you can do, just some little regional road trips. Like, I'll have my guys come out, we'll get in a van and do that.
Right. Right.
So I want to start looking into that, because the mountain towns are the ones that I think really embrace the whole jam band scene.
Yeah. I mean, now that I think about it, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. For some reason, I was always just had it like San Francisco. Maybe like the Grateful Dead
Yeah.
connection or something. But
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I definitely think NorCal has a lot of
yeah.
that stuff as well. Like, anything around the Bay Area, like Petaluma, Santa Rosa, Berkeley, Oakland.
Yeah.
I definitely think there's a market for it up there.
What was the impetus to get a place in Utah? What was the name of the city again? Or
Park City.
Park City? Okay. Are
Yeah, it's a ski town. Yeah.
you a big skier?
Um, Snowboarder.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of like outside of music, that's kind of like my second big interest,
Okay. All right.
So that's like my second love. Um, I'd been thinking about it for a while. Like most of my work for the past few years has just been on the road. Like, I
Right.
don't do a ton of local stuff around LA. Like, I'll do some sessions, and I had a couple monthly residency gigs that I was doing in LA, but I really wasn't like doing the in-town hustle so much anymore.
Yeah.
Um, I was
It's
just kind of,
exhausting.
what's that?
It's exhausting.
Sure, yeah,
Like that's
but
yeah, yeah.
I mean,
Like that's yeah.
I did it for almost 20 years. Like, I've been in LA for
Sure.
23 years, and
Okay.
it took me a while to get to where, the kind of level of gigs I've been doing for the past few years. But I just kind of was thinking about, hey, what would it be like if we had a place like in a cool mountain town that wasn't as crowded and didn't have the traffic issues and was just more mellow. And then, like, when I get off the road, I can just be in nature and be in the woods. And
Yeah.
I'd been thinking about it, and then the idea just got put on the back burner with COVID. But
Sure.
then, like, it was still on my mind, and I was looking at Redfin and looking at different mountain towns, and Park City came up, and I was looking at that, and it was so much cheaper than places like Telluride and Aspen that I was looking at, and way
Right.
cheaper than LA as well.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of started just looking at stuff on Redfin and marking favorite houses and whatever. And we went there in the summer just to get out of LA. We had put the idea of getting a place on the back burner because I was unemployed and all that. And we just wanted to go out, and I wanted to just get a feel for the place and see if it was as cool as I thought it was.
Yeah.
And while we were there, we're like, you know what? They probably have some open houses. Let's go check some out. So we did, and the first house we walked into was amazing, and we were like, this is really cool. We're like, I wonder, like, if we can pull this off.
Oh, wow.
Like, this would be cool. And after a couple days, my wife was kind of into it. Like, she was a little bit wary of the whole thing. But yeah, just we were there for a week and looked at a bunch of places and looked at a bunch of neighborhoods just to get a feel for the town. And that first house that we saw would just kind of stuck in our minds. And we just kind of weighed the pros and cons, ran the numbers, called my CPA, just looked at everything, trying to see like if it made sense to do it. And we ended up doing it.
Cool.
We just ended up deciding to go for
Nice.
it. We made an offer, got accepted. And I'm glad we did, because, man, like, very soon after that, prices just started to skyrocket and inventory went down. Like, now, like, I mean, everything is like anything that's like comparable to our house. I mean, it's
Yeah.
gone. There's just nothing like our house, and everything's like in the millions, and like it's like prices have gone up and inventory's
Okay.
gone down. So I feel like we got it at a
When
good
did you
time.
buy again?
We bought in July.
Okay.
and then
Okay.
we closed in September. We got a 60-day escrow, which is
Nice.
great. Gave us some time. And then yeah, so we closed in September, and we've been hanging out there. I've come back to town when things have been happening. Like my goal is just to be out there when I'm not working in LA, and
Okay.
when something comes up here in town, I come home. It's like it's an easy flight
Yeah.
or a drive if I'm going to be here for a little while. But like piece of cake direct flights from Salt Lake to Burbank. There's no traffic getting from Park City to Salt Lake. The airport's just great. It's a piece of cake.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the plan.
What's the drive? What's the drive from LA to
It's
there?
about 10 hours.
All right, that's not brutal. Like I'm from Phoenix, it's about 7.
Oh, really? Okay.
From here to
Yeah,
Phoenix,
not,
like, anytime I
not
go
so
back.
bad.
No,
It's not so bad.
no. After, but like the last 2 hours, I'm over it.
Sure.
Yeah, like just the last 2 hours, like I'm kind of in Phoenix, but still have a little bit. I'm done with the drive, but it's not brutal. It's not brutal.
Yeah. And you've probably done it enough that it's just, I mean,
Yeah.
it's just like autopilot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How far is it from there to Vegas?
About 6 hours.
Okay.
So when I do resume Vegas, it's an easy flight or drive. I can drive 6 hours.
Yeah.
I do like to drive to Vegas and have my car there. That way, like I can get around.
Sure.
I'm not just stuck at the hotel. So yeah, when things open up again, I can easily drive from there to Vegas.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's cool. So, of course, with all of us musicians, like the future is just a big question mark. So
I know.
we don't know what's going to happen. But the cool thing is, like, I feel like we made a good investment. I feel like if for some reason work doesn't come back and we need to unload the house, we'll definitely make money on it.
Good.
But if work does come back and I'm as employed as I'd like to be, then it's a great situation because we still have our house in Burbank. We took in a roommate, so he's paying us some rent and also looking over the house for us, so
Yeah.
we can come and go as we please. It's not like we had to like get all our stuff out of the house and get a full-time tenant.
Sure.
So it's still our house. We can come back. So it's kind of a I don't know, great situation.
Yeah, that's a nice little. I was going to ask you about that if you're doing an Airbnb thing or something when you were in Utah with your LA house. But if you got the roommate who's kind of like groundskeeper and he's throwing you a little bit of money, then perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, we thought that was the best situation because we want to be able to come back, and I didn't want I still want to have my studio set up here.
Sure.
I didn't want to like clear all my stuff out of the house and make it an Airbnb.
Right.
Plus, we're pretty attached to our house. We've been here 20 years, so it's like
Oh man.
the thought of just like giving it up to somebody else and getting our stuff out of it, we just weren't really into it. But the
Sure.
good thing is like our overhead is really low. Like we bought at a great time, and so like our monthly mortgage and everything is super low, super manageable. So
Well, fantastic.
it's a good situation. Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah. What I guess they're projecting summer that these residencies will come back.
Mhm.
What are they basing that off of? Is that just like
Just
a Hail
guessing.
Mary? Yeah.
Yeah. I
Okay.
mean, obviously there are people, paying attention to the science and figuring out ways to make it happen. I think we're all just thinking that the thought of this going beyond a year and a half, it just seems
I know.
crazy. Now we have a vaccine, so that's good.
Yeah.
So if we can get everybody vaccinated by spring or whatever, hopefully that'll mean this thing is going to start dying down. Of course, we don't know. I mean, it's like I said, it's a big question mark at this point.
Sure.
We're just hoping, keeping our fingers crossed,
Right. I think that's the most daunting aspect of it for me is like there's nobody, about this whole thing. Like there's never really been concrete information about like this is what it is. This is how we're gonna deal with it. Like it's every aspect of this thing has been a question mark.
Yep, absolutely.
In addition, like we don't really know what you're dealing with, and you don't really know how to deal with it, and you don't know when you're gonna stop dealing with it. Like it's all just like, we'll see what happens.
That's why it doesn't make sense to really like watch the news or really pay too much attention to any of that stuff now, because like I did, as most of us did, for the first couple months of this, we're like, when's this going to end? When are we going to get some information? And then you just never get that information.
Yeah.
Like it's all just been a bunch of guesses throughout this whole thing. And here we are 9 months later, and it's worse actually.
Yeah, I
So,
know. Which
we got to
which
I don't know.
it's oh man, yeah. I went down the rabbit hole really deep when it first started, around like March, April, and I was like listening to independent media to get like my news and information about it from that. And then once when all like kind of the race rioting happened in Los Angeles, just that and the news and COVID, it was all too much. At that point, I'm just like, I'm
Absolutely.
done. I'm done. I can't watch any more of this.
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah. it just puts you in a permanent state of anxiety,
Yeah, all the
So
time about everything.
yeah,
It's
so yeah, at some point, like, we just had to like step away from the news and all
yeah.
of that because
Yeah, I
it just
agree.
drive us crazy.
Yeah, that's all it does.
And I
But
just figure
go ahead.
I was just gonna say I just figure I'm not the expert. I just play bass. So
Yeah,
like
right, right.
my guess is on whatever's happening or whatever needs to happen doesn't mean anything. So best to
Sure.
just leave it to the experts.
Right.
And I'm just gonna do my thing, live my life, write
Yeah.
music, whatever,
Yeah.
and just wait and see when the experts tell us we can get back to work.
Right, hit unpause on everything. That would be
Yeah, for
nice. That
sure.
would be nice. What's the music scene like out there in Utah?
Well, I mean, like anywhere
I
non
mean, not
existent
right
right
now,
now.
but yeah,
you know,
but
you know, I from what I gather, Park City just has a very strong arts community and very supportive,
okay,
and they have a lot of like in the summertime they have a lot of outdoor concerts,
nice.
and and they got a couple really good venues. They've got this club that actually I used to play at in the early 2000s. I'd go out there with this band and play. It's a cool club. It's still going. They've got a theater that's been there for a long time that apparently has a lot of national acts. Um, and then you got Salt Lake, which has a lot of venues. They've got sheds, they got an arena, so they get a lot of the major acts. Um, but yeah, it just seems like there's a lot going on typically with music. Just a lot of people performing, even
Okay,
in like the bars and stuff. You've got acoustic, people playing.
yeah,
So they seem very supportive of that, which is cool. Um, and there's a guy that I met out there who runs an organization called Mountain Town Music, and they just kind of support a lot of the independent musicians and things like that. We went to one concert. He hosts a lot of backyard concerts
okay,
where he has people come through town and they do these little backyard concerts. Somebody will host it. So we went to one of those and it was great. It was like this rich architect guy that has this big house and big yard
yeah.
decided to host it. We went. You bring like beach chairs and wine and you hang out
Oh,
and
that's cool.
you pay what you want to pay for a ticket and then you can tip the artist. You can buy merch.
Yeah.
It's cool, and I think the artists probably do pretty well. So it's cool thing that they promote there.
Did you know who the artist was, or were you just showing up for the experience?
No, I just showed up. Like the guy that promotes this stuff, I got together with him. I just kind of wanted to meet some of the people in town to like, just find some of the music tribe in Park City.
Sure.
And he was saying that he runs this thing, and he was like, "Oh, come out to this show we're doing."
Yeah.
And so I went to check it out. It was just really cool. Singer songwriter guy. I forget where he lives, but he was trying to do a little road trip and do a lot of those solo acts will do house concerts.
Right.
So he was doing some of that stuff, and he just hit up this guy Brian, was like, "Hey man, I need a gig. I'm going to be not too far from Park City," and he's like, "I'll book you a gig." So
Perfect.
he does stuff like that
Perfect.
where he'll just like he'll find a gig for people, whether it's just like a backyard concert where he invites whoever subscribes to the mailing list.
Yeah.
It's cool.
That is cool. That's cool.
Yeah,
Do you do any teaching?
I do. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been doing a little bit of Zoom teaching.
Okay.
It's not the kind of thing that like I really promote too much on my end. It's just if people find me and they want lessons, like we'll do that.
Okay.
So I've been doing a little bit of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's kind of your approach that way? What's
I basically just help the student with whatever they need. Like I don't really have my own curriculum.
mhm.
It's usually people hit me up for lessons because they kind of know what I do and they have specific questions, and I can answer those questions for them.
Sure.
And then a lot of times I just ask them to play for me, and then I can just tell them what I notice about their playing, like
Sure.
whether it's a technique thing or a tone thing or an approach thing. So yeah, I mean, I usually do the best with teaching when people have specific questions they want to ask me,
Yeah.
and then we can talk about those things. But then, yeah, a lot of times it's just checking out what somebody does and just giving my 2 cents on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I'm only going to use the audio from this for the podcast, but we're on video right now, and I'm looking at your
Cool.
room, and you got a ton of basses back there.
Yeah.
What? I
Land
like
of
that short
basses.
scale music man back there.
That's fun. I just got that a couple of months ago.
Okay.
They just released those recently.
Yeah, I met the guy at NAMM, and I was
Oh,
playing
cool.
one at NAMM, and they're super fun to play. And the short
Oh, I didn't
scales,
even know they had them at NAMM. Oh, cool.
short scales, it seems like they're kind of making a splash right now. A lot of
They're
companies
having a moment.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're fun to play. They're so fun to play.
I love 'em, man. I love short scales. I've got a couple. I mean, I've got a Mustang.
Okay.
I've got a Hofner and the Music Man. But there's a lot of companies that are making them now, and they're cool. They're super fun to play.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the Music Man one, My buddy Philip Bino, who's a Music Man guy, he threw my name in the hat to do some demo videos for them.
Okay.
So Derek Brooks, the artist guy, he contacted me about doing some demo videos. So they let me borrow the bass, and I did a couple videos just here in my studio. I just had so much fun playing it. I was like, man, like what can I do to convince you to let me keep this thing? So he was like, well, do some more videos for us and you can keep it. So then I did, I went down and they did like a professional video shoot not too long ago. And we did demos of some of their new instruments that they're putting out, like for their virtual NAMM in January. So they got a couple different Stingray models and some new colors they're putting out. So I went and did a handful of those videos for them as well.
Virtual NAMM, is that how it's gonna happen?
Yeah. I mean, there's no NAMM show, so I think it's just companies.
They're still gonna do something.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what it's going to be, but I know a lot of companies are like putting video content together. The guy that shot my band, we did like a live in the studio performance about a month ago. The guy that shot that is now doing all the Fender stuff. Like he's shooting all their custom shop instruments and like everything that they're going to put out at NAMM. So like I think a lot of companies are just trying to get video content because they can't actually have it physically, to the booth and all that.
Right. Yeah, man, all the out of work musicians right now should become video editors. Like if you could clean up as a video editor until gigs come back.
Seriously. I mean, that's like that's like a requirement of us now, which is wild. Like everything requires video. Like every remote session I get called for now, like they want video too. It's just what everybody's doing. And it's like it's one of those things where I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm still trying to get my lighting together. I'm still trying to get my editing together. Like I have very minimal skills.
This looks good though. Like whatever you have going on here, this looks good. I mean, mine doesn't. I didn't know we were doing video, but this looks good.
I just figured you were doing video because every other one of these that I've done is videos.
Oh no, I only do audio. Like I don't really want to. No one should have to look at me for an hour.
Shower, get dressed, or anything. Damn.
No, when you messaged me about that, like I just got out of the shower.
Man,
like, dude, it's a podcast.
My phone.
Like,
I didn't know that because, like, seriously, like I've done a bunch of these this year, and it's all video. So, yeah.
Oh, okay. No, I don't ever do the
traditional podcast. So and I was just trying to mess with lighting because this room doesn't have the best lighting, but I have a little ring lights, and I put that sort of behind my computer. It's kind of light me a little bit, but like looking at the video, I'm like realizing that, man, I need to do something to like hide all the mess of this room because there's like other crap all over the floor, and like I should like set it up, put up some like little black curtains or something to make it like more video friendly,
I think maybe like I did go down the rabbit hole about lighting for when I do lessons videos for the other part of this whole brand. I think you'd be good, man, with just a ring light and maybe like a soft backlight. To like just get the silhouette of all those basses.
Yeah.
But you just black it all out with like a little.
Yeah, I'll mess around with it. I've got another lighting kit. I've got the ring light, then I've got this other like umbrella light kit. Always just trying to figure it out,
I know. That's the thing. Like I had to get into that. I had to get into video editing. I had to learn more about audio editing.
Yep.
And then the hard drive that all that stuff, the external drive I use for all of it, just crashed.
Oh.
So I lost like 2 years and like 400 gigs worth of stuff.
You didn't have that backed up?
I did not have that backed up. So I'm like tracking down data recovery services right now.
Yeah, those are out there. Yeah.
Yeah, they're expensive, but
well, if it's invaluable stuff, you got to get it,
It's not. This is my thing with it. It's not invaluable stuff. Like all the transcriptions I did and all the videos, I can do it all again. But I think all of it would have a price point. Like, what would I need to transcribe again and shoot the video again and do all that? Like,
sure.
All right, is paying $2,000 worth just doing it again? Like, no, I'll probably just do it again. But if it's
a lot of hours too, you got to think like, do I have that much time?
Yeah, there's that. And so these are all the things I'm weighing out. Like, do I want to spend the time to do it all again, or just spend the money? I don't know. So I'm trying to track it all, figure it all out and see who does data recovery and how bad this thing is. I feel like it's on there. I just have to get it off of that drive and then back.
Sure. Yeah. Well, good luck, man. That's a bummer. Sorry to hear that.
Thanks.
That was a drag.
What's your rig for home recording sessions, for remote sessions?
Well, when I'm here in LA, I've got a more extensive setup because I've got I've got a room that I converted my garage where I keep my amp. So I've got an old B15 that I mic up
Okay.
there, and my Aguilar rigs as well.
Yeah.
And then I've got a couple DIs. I've got an A Designs Ready tube DI. I've got an Avalon U5. I've got a Universal Audio 610 and a 710, a distressor. So I've got some stuff here for remote recording.
Hmm.
When I'm out there in Utah, I've just kind of set up a small room. I brought a small handful of basses with me. I just have my laptop and an Apogee One interface and my Noble Tube DI
Sure.
preamp, which has become that thing is awesome, and that's become like a go-to piece of gear that like can't live without it. So, man, I've been getting great tones with just that tube preamp and the Apogee interface, like through the laptop. And I don't have an amp out there to mic, but most of the time these days people just ask for direct tracks
Sure.
anyway. Like it's rare that somebody wants that mic signal, but like, man, plugins have come such a long
Hmm.
way. Like even just like the ones that are included with Logic, there's some Ampeg SVT plugins that sound great. There's like this, I've got a go-to like 70s SVT plugin that I use to get an amp sound, and man, it
Yeah.
sounds awesome. So really, like, I've kind of got everything I need with just that minimal rig
Okay.
out
What's
there,
the
And I've got a Line 6 HX Stomp as well, so I've got a bunch of effects if I
Okay.
need them, and also some other amp
Now
emulations.
I'm not big on I never really got into the pedals and all that stuff. Whatever, that's a different conversation. Not because I have a problem with it, but I don't know a lot about, like, if you're looking at delays or any effect. What are we looking at when you got 15 different brands of whatever the effect is? What's the difference? Isn't it just the effect? Like, what am I really shopping for?
It's just depending on what your ear wants to hear, what sounds good to
Okay.
you. Um, yeah, because there's so many pedals out there, and I've got a huge collection. I get into pedals, and I
Okay.
have for a long time. Things change up. Somebody puts out something new, you check it out, you like it
Mhm.
better than what you've been using. So I've been, and then eventually the pedals just pile up, and you're like, what, I got to sell some of these. So like every couple of years, I do like a gear purge, as most of us do, where I'm like, okay, well, I haven't used this in years, and I probably won't. And honestly, like these days when I'm doing my own thing, when I was recording and doing my own videos, like I put together a pedal board of a bunch of pedals that I like, and I love using the analog pedals for that. But for the gigs I'm doing for the Gwen and Shania, I use a Kemper Profiler, and man, it sounds great. The
Okay.
effects sound great in it, and for any sort of pedals I
Yeah.
need, they're like all in there, and
Okay.
it's a piece
Okay.
of cake,
What do you
Yeah. So a lot of people are going that route. Like I know a lot of people that are just selling their amps and selling their pedals and just going with digital stuff because the sounds have come such a long way. And between the Kempers and the Line 6 and the Axe Effect stuff, like so many great tones out there.
what effects do you use? Gwen would make sense to,
Hmm.
like, maybe get more of a synthy, almost key bass sound.
Hmm.
Do you have to play key bass on her gig?
I don't. And some of her music does have key bass in it, but when we were doing rehearsals, the MD was just like, I'd rather have you actually play
Cool.
bass. We've got two keyboard players in the band that can cover stuff. So I'll emulate some keyboard sounds just mainly by doing the bass octave pedal thing with
Sure.
no dry signal,
Okay.
where it has that sort of subby synth thing. And
Yeah.
the Kemper does that great. Like it
Okay.
sounds just like an OC2. Like it's great. So I use that setting for I think 3 songs with Gwen. I use that just full octave pedal synthy thing.
Yeah.
And then there's like one song where I think the synth bass is one of the guys is playing it, and I'm just doubling it on bass.
I see.
Um, and then there's other effects too. Like I've got some like little auto swell things I do, and I've got a couple things with some chorus.
Okay.
So definitely like I have some room for effects with Gwen. Shania is like pretty much just meat and potatoes. I
Right.
don't
Right.
use. Yeah, I mean it's just the only thing I use with her is like a little bit of dirt.
Okay.
But pretty much it's just like clean bass tone. I just found an amp that I like a lot in the Kemper, and I use that. And then there's a couple settings where I just drive it a little bit to get some dirt,
Okay.
and that's it for that gig.
What
Yeah.
basses are you playing for each artist?
For Gwen, I've got 2 Fano JM4s that are really cool. It's they're actually out of Scottsdale,
Okay.
your
Yeah.
your old
Yeah.
hood. Yeah. So they're these offset basses. Their bodies are like kind of Jaguar shaped bodies, with Thunderbird pickups that are in a jazz bass position, and then the neck is like it's like a jazz bass neck, pretty thin
Okay.
neck. So it's like an interesting hybrid of a few different things, and they're
Cool.
great. They're really cool, super fun to play. So I've got two of those. I've got one with a rosewood board and one with a
Okay.
maple, and I use those with Gwen. Then I have a Music Man Sterling 5 that I use on a few songs where I need the 5 string
Okay.
with her. And so those are the three basses I use on that gig, and they're standard tuned. And then just the amps and effects from the Kemper. And then with Shania, it's a little. I've got some other stuff going on there. I got a Mulan P bass with the
Man, those are
jazz
great
neck that I
basses. Those are
love.
great basses.
Oh,
Yeah.
they're awesome basses. Yeah, great sounding P basses. So I've got that. I keep that tuned
Okay.
down a step. Um, then I've got a Fender Nate Mendel P bass that is in standard tuning that I use on some of the. We do kind of one section that's a little more country-ish kind of stuff. Use it on that. Um, I've got a custom
Mhm.
Sandberg VM4 that they made for me this year that's tuned
Okay.
BEAD. So it's like the bottom four
Yeah.
strings of a 5 string. And then I have another Sandberg of a 48 that's like a kind of like a Gibson Explorer. It's like a real cool rock and roll shape, and I use that tuned B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat.
Oh
So
man.
so yeah, so that's like the low thunder.
Yeah.
So I use that on a couple of songs just to get that low B flat, because there are a couple tunes that she dropped the keys and now they're in B flat,
Sure.
but there's room for that low
Sure.
B flat. So keep that tuned down. That bass does really well in that tuning. And then I've got a Martin acoustic bass that I use. We have an
Okay.
acoustic segment that's just a standard tuned acoustic bass guitar. And I've got a Dave Smith Instruments Mofo synth that I use
Okay.
for. I only use it on one song. Yeah, that's what I use for her.
Man, that's a
Yeah.
full house. That's
Yeah, but I've gotten into the whole alternate tuning thing.
Okay.
Like it's kind of fun. I don't play a lot of 5 string. I play 5 string when I have
Yeah.
to, but if I can get away with a detuned 4 string, I'd rather do that. I just like playing 4 strings.
What is that just the neck, the size of the neck, like what you want to just hold in your left hand? You just want the
Maybe
smaller
that's
neck?
it. Maybe it's the size of the bass in general. I mean, I'm a pretty small guy, so when I play a 5 string, it just feels big to me. It just feels huge.
Mm.
And over my
Yeah.
playing career, I've gone through so many different 5 strings. Like there's some 4 strings that I have that I've had forever, but 5 strings, like I'll get one, and then a couple years later I'm not into it and I sell it and I get something else. So I've just like my 5 string collection has just rotated so much over the years, and I finally just came to a place of acceptance where I was like, you know what, I'm just not a big 5 string guy. So I've got a couple that I like now. I've got a Sandberg 5 and the Music Man 5. Those are my only two fretted 5s right now, and they're great. But I play them when I have to. I don't know. I just connect with the 4 string more. It just feels more right, you know.
I totally get that. I totally understand it. But mine's actually just the opposite. Like I love the planky feeling of the neck of a 5
But
string.
you're also an upright player, right?
Yes.
So you're used
Yeah.
to like a big instrument, you know.
Yeah, and like something very physical.
Sure.
And there's I like all that.
Mhm.
Yeah, and maybe I that's a good point. I never put it together that like the 5 string in relation to like the upright thing. I never put that together.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe you're just used to like having
Yeah, dealing with a
bigger
lot of
instrument, big neck.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
And yeah, because fours always just feel like a toy.
Right. That's what a lot of upright players say, you know.
Yeah, like going from the
Yeah.
upright to a 4 string, it just feels like this
Sure.
is it's
And
like
I'm
going
sure-
from bass to guitar.
Yeah, and I'm
It's
sure
like, what,
if
this
it's
is-
like a short scale 4 string, even more stuff.
Yeah,
know,
right. And then it
jeez.
feels like a ukulele.
Yeah, yeah.
What were the basses you used on your record?
I went more old school on that. I have a 63 P bass with
Nice.
flat wounds that I used. That was on most of it. Then I have a Labella Olinto P bass. I don't know if
Okay.
you check those out, but
No.
yeah, Labella has this line of P basses. Well, not just P basses, just a line of basses in general that they put out a few years back, and they have a guy named Moschino that makes them, and they're incredible. It's a great boutique P bass.
Yeah.
So I use that with round wounds. So those are the two main basses. I have a 76 P bass that I used on like one section of one song.
Okay.
Like the first song starts out with this like wah wah part, and I just use that bass because I don't know, it's just a comfortable bass to play.
Yeah.
And then I have a Cylinder J update that I used on two songs.
Okay.
Uh,
Nice.
Yeah, but mostly the P basses, mostly the 63 and the Labella.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. That's definitely
Yeah.
going to get that meters
Yeah,
sound.
totally.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the vibe I wanted to go for on the new album. And actually one of the songs that has the Cylinder is a song I recorded like 6 years ago. It's like a kind of a Marcus Miller-y, kind of slap bass melody thing.
Okay.
That's something I did it 6 years ago, and it never, I haven't done an album in a while, so
Right.
it never really found a home. So I was like, I'll put it on this record as a bonus track.
Sweet. So the
Yeah.
record's out, right? The record's done.
Yep. Came out in September.
Where can they go to hear it?
It's on all the digital outlets, Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, YouTube Music, blah, blah, blah. It's on all that stuff. I also on my website, I have an online store. If people are into physical product, I sell vinyl. I sell the USB drives with the 8-track tapes. So that's on my website, derekfrank.com. Bandcamp as well. If people do the Bandcamp thing, it's there. So yeah, pretty much anywhere you buy music.
Have you noticed any more traction on one platform over the others?
I think people are more into Spotify these days.
Okay.
And honestly, I haven't really gone to really like check out all the numbers, and I probably should just keep, check out the analytics and all that. But I think probably it gets the most streams on Spotify. And I think people who are still downloading and buying things do it mostly on iTunes. That's become kind of the standard, or Amazon. Okay. But I honestly need to check with the distributor, check where my sales are coming from, or sure. Streams.
Yeah, I don't even know. I don't ever check out music on Amazon. I don't. I go to Apple because Spotify has a terrible jazz collection. Like old.
Oh really?
Old jazz records just not there. They have compilations, but you can't find some, more obscure old jazz records. So I just go to Apple.
Oh wow! Yeah, okay, Apple has it. Okay.
For the most part, yeah.
Right on. Right on. I am. Spotify has become kind of the industry standard. Honestly, I don't like Spotify. I don't think they pay their artists enough. I got off of Spotify a while back and joined Tidal because actually of all the streaming services, Tidal actually has the best payout for songwriters and for creators. So I joined Tidal and got off Spotify. But then it's because Spotify became the industry standard, everybody's on it. So when people are sharing playlists and sharing music and whatever, they're sending Spotify stuff. And so I just got to a place where I'm like, well, I guess I just have to be on Spotify again. So Spotify is my streaming thing. But I try to buy music whenever I can. Like when my friends put out stuff on Bandcamp, I always go buy it because Bandcamp's got a great streaming thing. Like you can download it or you can just stream it through the app. So if you don't want it clogging up your hard drive or whatever, you can purchase it and then just stream it. Your collection shows up in the app. And it's cool because people can name their price. You say what your minimum is. You sell your album for $10 or whatever. People can pay more if they want to. Yeah, and I always do. Like when I go buy my friends' albums, I'll pay $20 or more or whatever, just because it's recorded music should be worth that. To think that a full album still costs $10 is now is I don't know, it's kind of ridiculous. So I always try to support when I can, and of course I appreciate it when people do as well. I mean, you can't force people to buy music these days because, especially with the younger generation, they're just not used to buying music. Ever since they've been listening to music, it's been free basically.
Yeah, I know. CDs used to be $20, 20 years ago. Yeah. And now people are only paying 10 and not even doing that. That's the only thing the price has gone down on in the last 20 years.
Right.
is recorded music.
It's crazy. So
yeah,
I try to support people when I can and hope that they do the same. But it's you can't expect or force people to buy music these days. They're going to stream it or whatever they're going to do. They're going to go on YouTube or whatever it is. But, yeah.
Cool, man. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing the record. Thanks for taking the time.
Cool. Thanks.
I'm definitely going to check it out. Yeah, let's let's get a bite or something. You're not too far. Let's hang. Yeah, dude.
Cool. Thanks, man. Pleasure chatting with you.
All right, that was my talk with Derek. I highly recommend going and checking out the record. Again, like I said, I had not checked it out yet when I talked to Derek. But since then, I have. Absolutely, go check it out. DerekFrank.com. There, look him up on Spotify, wherever, Apple Music, whatever your thing is, wherever your outlet for music is right now, and buy it, folks. Throw Derek a little bit of money, huh? Buy the record. Yeah, music has value. Music has value. I would hope you would think so because you're listening to this and you're listening to me talk to musicians. So on some level, it has value. Please show that in supporting Derek's new record. 11 years later. Fantastic record. If you are enjoying the podcast, you do not have to throw me money, but please give a rating. Make sure you subscribe on whatever channel or platform you're listening to this on. If you're already subscribed, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, about the hard drive, right? That sucks. So I lost all that information. It's at a data recovery guy right now. He's checking it out. He sends me this like data report of what was recovered and what wasn't recovered. Most of the things that were not recovered, they're already out. They're like old podcast episodes or like some video files or something videos that are already up at the Bass Shed, something like that. So I'm not super stressed about it. But what's funny is he sent it to me in like an HTML code printout, which like it's not that I had no idea how to read it. It's just, parts of it. Parts of it I had no idea how to read. Other parts of it were a little bit easier to read. And given that there was so much information on that drive, I basically just took another drive to the guy. I'm like, yo, when you dump everything onto this healthy drive, just let me snoop around there for a minute. Make sure everything looks all right. And then I'll pay you for your services and buy the drive back with all my information on it. So that's where it's at. I'm waiting for him to dump all the info onto the drive, the healthy one, so that I can go in there and just check it out. Great guy. If anybody's in the Los Angeles area and unfortunately runs into this same predicament, which I hope you don't, everybody back up your information, back up your hard drives. Like right now, Best Buy has all kinds of deals on external drives. Just buy another one and just back it up. But 5-star data recovery. This guy's been great to work with. Very he communicates well, is what I was trying to say. I was trying to put that all in one word. Every night I'm getting emails about like the status of what he's doing in his recovery process, and he's been great to work with. So 5-star data recovery. Highly recommend them if you or anybody you know in the Los Angeles area needs some hard drive or computer work. They're over in Glendale, California, on brand. So that's that. All right, that's all I got for this week, folks. That's all I got for this one. Check out Derek's record. And I'll catch you on the next one in a minute.